Hey everybody, wish you guys all well. Been a little while since I made a video on Spirit of the Father, which is movie recommendations. They're movie recommendations based on, as I see it, embodying a spirit of a father. That the protagonist of the movie, the protagonist or the main character or characters of a movie are embodying that which is something that we should look up to. We need more positive, conscious people in our world. And what I mean by that is people who embody the hero, people who see the ugliness, people who embody the character of Christ, and not from a holier than thou mentality, but people who are truly positive. And in a world that is very negative and is inclined towards negativity, to be of the world is easy, but to be that of which is not the world is difficult. And in my view, it's the best life worth living. And to me, these are the best movies, which is why I share this week's Spirit of the Father, which is The Last Castle. To me, this was a hidden gem. I didn't see this movie until recently, but this movie came out in 2001. It's with James Gandolfini and Robert Redford. And Robert Redford is the protagonist in the movie. And for the sake of time, I'm going to keep this short. There's a couple quotes that I got from this that I really liked. And Robert Redford is he's in prison in this movie, and he says we can no longer wear the uniform of the soldier. We forfeited that right, and that includes me. I disobeyed an executive order. I violated my duty as a commanding officer, and 8 men paid a catastrophic price. It's a mistake not easy to live with. So here I am, just like you, a convicted criminal. Only difference between you and me is I know I'm guilty. Which I love that line because it reminds me of the thief on the cross. The difference between the good thief and the bad thief, where Christ says to him, "On this day, you will be in heaven with me." Um, is that the thief on the cross, the good thief, was the one who took responsibility. And what I love about that scene in this movie, in this quote, is that he takes responsibility. He knows he's guilty. And it's not something to do to look the man in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? I'm not good here. I'm weak here. And to not do it from a self pity standpoint, but from a true standpoint that, hey, you know what? I've made a mistake. To me, it's one of the elements of the spirit of the Father is one who takes full responsibility for their actions. So that is the first quote. And the other quote that I wanted to share from this movie was where he's speaking with, now this is played by James Gandolfini, who's the warden of the prison that they're in. And he says, Mr. Irwin, these men are not here for unpaid parking fines or misdemeanors. And Irwin says to him, I'm under no illusion as to why the men are here, Colonel. I just thought they might be reminded of some of the good things they've done instead of only the worst. So this is, and just for clarification, Irwin is played by Robert Redford. This is what I mean by conscious positivity, by truly good. Now here he is in a prison, and I'm not going to give away the movie in this video at all. So I highly recommend it. Check it out. But he's essentially imprisoned for disobeying an officer, and it cost the lives of men that he's surrounded by, and um, and he's essentially setting the example in this prison, to focus on the good. And there's many examples of this. There's one scene where he's him and James Gandolfini are the two that go at it in this movie. It's it's well done. And as what I really love about this and what really embodies me and stood out to me, the spirit of the Father, is that he's in here. It is everyone's in prison, and he's instilling the idea that there is still good, there is still something to live for, there's still something positive to aim towards. And there's many scenes where it really embodies the Christian principles, right? He's punished, and he instead of complaining, poor me, he takes responsibility and he bears the suffering. He bears his cross in the movie. I mean, there's one scene where you'll see involving rocks, and he bears the suffering of the scene very well. Doesn't complain. He does what he's does what he's told. And what's so cool about this is that one of the ways that you expose someone who's truly bad or evil is not by fighting them. Um, it's not by fighting them, or the way that you fight them is through wisdom. Um, where in Romans, there's a quote: "Do not avenge yourselves, beloved." 12:19, Romans 12:19. Do not revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "It is mine to avenge; I will repay," says the Lord. So essentially, this is embodying humility. If someone is doing you wrong, let's say in the workplace, let's say in a relationship, romantic, or just with family, the best thing you can do is not to get mad at the other person. Or in this movie, for example, the warden, he's really corrupt warden. He's using his power to really to hate on the prisoners. Now they're doing their time. They don't feel good about what they're doing, which is why I shared the second quote. And I think this runs very deep in this movie, because I think it really exudes deeper religious principles, right? um the idea of Christianity is we're all sinners. We've all made mistakes in our life. We've all screwed up. And it's so easy to, when you start to really feel the burden, when you start to look at the man or woman in the mirror and you start to really feel it, we don't want to look at that. We don't want to feel that. And I think part of the Christian principle is you have to look at that. You have to face that. And again, not slip into victimhood, but you have to take responsibility and ownership. And you should feel ashamed. You should feel ashamed, but not live in shame. It's very clear, and that's what makes really good friends in your life. People who hold the mirror to you and say, "Hey, you know what? Do you think is this the highest version of you? If you're fat, you need to own it. You're fat. If you're lazy, you need to own that you're lazy. You're weak here, you need to own that." And only people who have lived through it, who embody that, who walk the walk, not just talk the talk, are really people who can do that. But even when you do share that with people, some people don't want to hear it. They're going to hate it. They're going to run from the light, and the light will burn them. Um, but essentially, he embodies this truly good character, and he reminds people of the best. And there's one scene in it where he knows there's someone who can go against him. He's not naive to it. He knows someone that he can go against him, but he chooses to believe in the best in him. And again, this is another Christian principle, right? Part of being truly good is to see the good in people, but you're not naive to realize that people are going to backstab you. People are going to hurt you in your life, consciously or unconsciously. Now, what does the line go? People want you to win, just not more than them, right? That's another example of the point that I'm getting at. When you start really elevating your consciousness and really becoming a winner in the truest sense, to me, Christ was he was the biggest winner in the truest sense. But look what he went through. Winning in the world and winning in true life, winning in the spirit, are not going to look the same. Winning in the world, you can have a lot of money, you can get a lot of fame, you can get a lot of attention. But to win in true life is to give it up. You start getting to the paradoxes. It doesn't make sense to the rational mind. So it's not of the world. It's of the spirit. It's something much deeper. You're not trying to win over other people. You're just winning what is the best good for me and everyone around me. And when you start to get those answers, again, it can be a very lonely path. So, but he chooses to believe in the best. He chooses to believe in the best. And when you believe in that, again, you're going to be let down. Look at Judas, one of Christ's disciples. Look at Peter, who denied him 3 times. I don't know this guy. I don't know who Jesus is. And that's the real question is can you believe in people when they don't even believe in themselves? And not to go out of your way, not to cast pearls to swine, right? Because sometimes, you have to look for these windows of opportunity. Christ came to heal the sick, but only those who look in the mirror and say, "Hey, you know what? I'm sick." That's where there's a birth. That's where there's a rebirth. That's where there's the birth of the Father within. And another way of saying this all is, who is willing to do the right thing instead of the thing that feels good. It's a common theme in a lot of my videos, which is a reminder for me. I don't come on here acting as if I'm a saint. And I think that's one of the ways I'll relate to most of my audience on here is that I'm not perfect. But it's also not an invitation to stay weak. It's not an easy line to walk. And it's again why I share a lot of these movies. This is a perfect example here of Robert Redford, who's playing someone who was a soldier and he made a catastrophic mistake that cost people lives. And rather than saying, no, it's not my fault, which he'd probably be justified by many people, and in a certain sense, you could see it, by taking ownership and taking responsibility, he actually becomes truly strong. Those who humble themselves will be exalted. But this exaltation is not easy. This exaltation is not of the world. This exaltation, I think, is also you connect with people who get it. And that's who I hope to reach with my videos is that you get these paradoxes in life. There's tremendous wisdom and power in a lot of these. And another example that I bring up often is um, that we're called to be lighthouses. We're called to share our light amongst men, to be beacons of light, just essentially to be in the arena of life, to not hide back, shine, invite others to follow your example. But a lot of us, we have a lot of demons. And whether if we don't face those, then we don't invite other people to shine. And by default, we invite other people to be weak. Christ also said, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. And I've said before, I think this is two things. One is we got to share your shit. We all got shit, we all got demons, and we're all working towards fixing those. These are these hidden patterns of behavior, these weaknesses, the things that we say we want to do, but we don't do, and the things that we don't want to do, that those things that we do. So one is bringing out the weak spots in us, to face those, the things we're ashamed of, the things that are blocks. We have to get those off our chest and realize that we need help from each other, and we need wisdom when we're suffering. And we know when we're suffering if we're honest with ourselves. We don't have to go around preaching. We know, when you wake up in the morning, you look at the man or woman in the mirror, you know if you need help or if you don't. And it's not easy because when you start asking for help, who's going to give you the right answers? Who can you trust? You got to just trust. And you got to know that when you start walking this path, there's going to be a lot of people that they can't be trusted and they're going to let you down. But it's not you against them, it's you against you, your lower self. And the second thing, which what Christ was pointing to, is our gift. Part of it is we have to share our crap, get that off of our chest, our sin, our mistakes. And the other is finding our gift. How can we invite other people to shine? How can we invite other people, to be the best version of themselves and to win in the realest sense, not of the world? Because if you're focused on the world, again, you're going to compare yourself to others. It's keeping up with the Joneses, and it's such a weak place to live. And if we're honest, most of us have got caught in that trap at some point in our life, and in some area. And it's not the right way to live. You have to reshift. It's not you against other people. It's you against you. So, yeah, but here I'm off a little bit on this. So I just wanted to really recommend this movie. It's inspirational. It's real. It's raw, and embodies a lot of principles that I look up to. And again, a lot of these movies that I share on here, these are conscious positivity people. These are people who are in tough situations. Oftentimes, not all the videos that I'm going to share on here, but these movie recommendations are for, instilling that, hey, you know what? Here's someone who's in a really shitty situation and they make the best of it and they be the hero in the unlikely scenarios. So yeah, check out Last Castle. Again, this was made in 2001. It's with James Gandolfini, Robert Redford. Highly recommend. And these videos will be regularly now. I'm going to have these every week. I think we need, there's not many good movies now out. So I want to share some quality gems that I've found. And I know you're going to get you're going to get the same frame of mind that I did when you see this.